So, as I'm sure you've noticed, because it's impossible to miss, a couple of Avengers seriously leveled up in Infinity War. So, while the movie doesn't feature an instant classic battle like the airport throwdown in Civil War, here is my list of overall MVPs in the movie. And you've been warned, there are spoilers in this video. Okay, so the number one MVP of Avengers Infinity War is Tony Stark. And I'm sure some of you are like, God damn it, Grace, your favoritism for Tony seemingly knows no bounds. But I think he legit deserves this spot. And if you don't agree, well, I look forward to hearing your counter arguments down below. But here's my justification. So, once again, Tony does all the heavy lifting, both in terms of tech and personality. But while Tony has always been quick with a quip, here, his upgraded armor, often does the talking for him. That's right, somebody saw Black Panther and upped their game. In fact, Stark's suit seems to have taken on some of the magical qualities of Wakandan tech, and that it can do things simply because it would be cool if it could. And it is very cool. Hitting the ground running with those free-floating sonic cannons that popped out of his back at the beginning of the movie, Tony Stark definitely reminds us that he did start out as a weapons designer. And I think that with such amazing tech developments, I'd love to revisit Stark Industries and see what kind of products they're rolling out these days. He's not in the weapons business anymore, but I wouldn't be surprised if he had a couple of government contracts, and maybe there could be like a Parker Industries kind of situation, or maybe he makes an iPhone, his version of an iPhone. I'm curious why they haven't explored that in the MCU. Although, as I discussed in my end credits video for the film, we're starting to realize that Kevin Feige likes to keep it real simple, and that's an unnecessary complication. But I would love to see a tech-off between Tony and Shuri as soon as possible. Now, I know some of you have said you'd like to see Shuri become Ironheart, taking over for Riri Williams in the comics, but I think Shuri deserves better. I mean, she has her own legacy, speaking of the comics, where she takes up the Black Panther mantle. And also, Riri Williams, while she has her fans, let's face it, she's not been particularly well received. So why saddle Shuri and Letitia Wright with that, something that's been rejected by fans, right? If she's not going to go the Black Panther route, let her develop her own hero that's native to Wakanda, right? I would hate to see that go down. That's just my personal opinion. All right, so the number two MVP is Doctor Strange. Going from cutting-edge technology to ancient magic spells. I like the poeticness of that. And I think it speaks a lot for the MCU that they can have two such very different figures basically on the same level. Now, first off with Doctor Strange, as many of you pointed out, yes, the Cloak of Levitation becomes more and more like the carpet from Aladdin with each movie. He smacked away, cloak smacked away Tony's hand in the movie. That was hilarious! And it was cool when Strange used the Time Stone, right, to see which plan against Thanos might work. And the portals were cool, very Blink from the X-Men, right? But what took my breath away and put him at the number 2 spot on this list was when he went all Hindu god with the multiple arms, right? And then multiplied himself a la Jamie Madrox from the X-Men. Speaking of magic spells, I think the X-Men might need a copyright protection spell. There's even more X-Men to be referenced in this video. And Ebony Maw, I think, was also very Magneto Jean Grey. So, crazy. I wonder if Feige made all these, or okayed all these decisions before he knew he might soon be getting the X-Men himself. But anyway, when Doctor Strange did that, when he went all, again, Hindu god, it looked so enchanting, right? And so different from the rest of the Avengers. I continue to really be impressed with how the MCU brings this unique comic book character to life on the big screen, and yet still manages to have him fit with the MCU. It's great. Very, very exciting. All right, so the number 3, Thor. Thor was almost number 2 in terms of MVPs, but I really liked that Doctor Strange move. Speaking of the comics, right? Here with Thor, the movies are influencing it's going in the opposite direction. The movies are influencing the comics because, sure enough, in the pages of Thor, everyone's favorite Asgardian seems to be on the verge of getting the lightning powers that he now sports in the movies. And here, in Infinity War, just as in Thor Ragnarok, Thor continues to not just dominate the battlefield, but to do it with amazing visual flair. That's right, another X-Men gets their trademark look lifted. All right, number 4. SpiderMan. I mean, his pop culture knowledge continues to be an asset to the team, but what puts him on this list is his new Iron Spider suit, particularly the spider legs, which do not disappoint. They are so cool, but also so creepy, but in a really creepy, cool way. Particularly when they acted as sort of a shield whenever he crash landed. I thought that was really cool. He didn't really crawl around anywhere with them spider-like, but I'm hoping we see that in a future film. Number 5, War Machine. I'm as surprised as you are, but you know what? The guy really impressed me on the battlefield in Wakanda with his air support. When he lit up the field below, I compared Avengers Infinity War to napalm, right? Just a whole movie of napalm. But here you actually kind of saw that, an Apocalypse Now kind of a situation with War Machine again with his air support. Rhodey, of course, used to fly a fighter jet, and he's really turned himself into a mini fighter jet. And so I kind of am starting to see what he brings to the team firepower-wise. I always just felt he was an Iron Man knockoff, but here, he really stood out on his own. All right, number 6, the Guardians of the Galaxy. Also a surprise for me. I know some of you are like, finally, you're on the Guardians of the Galaxy bandwagon, Grace, but they earned my respect in this movie. They turned out to be a surprisingly effective team, particularly Rocket Raccoon, who got several gags out of his penchant for collecting artificial body parts. We'd already heard about the wanting to buy off Bucky's arm from him. That was great. But I thought this was a very clever way for Thor to get an eye back. I thought that was great. And also the gag about maybe he should have washed it before he stuck it in his head. But it was fabulous. Also Groot. Now we also knew in advance that Groot would supply the handle to Stormbreaker, Thor's new hammer. That was a nice moment. But I was also surprised, taken aback, when Groot skewered a bunch of those multiple armed aliens with his branch arms, right? I was like, whoa, that's pretty violent, but very effective. And then perhaps most of all, Mantis, who I thought would be dead weight in a fight, but she proved to be anything but. When Strange plopped her onto Thanos' shoulders from above through a portal, and she was able to cloud Thanos' mind, at least for a little while, I also here finally realized what an asset she is in a fight. Fantastic. And then number 7, Scarlet Witch. Yes, she's last, even though she was incredibly impressive in the movie, even getting a great line from Okoye as to she should have been in the battlefield the whole time, right? But the reason she's last is that I feel she's a bit of a cheat. I don't understand her power set. Kevin Feige has said she is indeed practicing magic like Doctor Strange, she just is unrefined. She doesn't know what she's doing. But it's not acting like magic. It's not even acting like telekinesis. Again, that's Ebony Maw. It seems to me that she just controls this red glowy energy and she can push and pull things around with it, create force fields. But again, it's the manipulation of this red glowy energy. But then I don't understand how she was able to hypnotize, Black Widow in Age of Ultron, and a couple of Avengers, I believe, right? A power she seems to have lost. And then she seems to sometimes know what's going on with Vision here, in his stone. But I think that's the connection they have because she got her powers. So, there's that, I guess. But overall, the writers really need to sit down and figure this one out, even though I do admire her raw strength. I respect it. I don't know how, actually, admire is probably the wrong word, because again, her power set just seems to be all over the place. Make up your mind, MCU. All right, so I've made up my mind about who the MVPs are in Avengers Infinity War, and I'm very curious to hear your own thoughts down below. And of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now, which includes plenty of Avengers Infinity War coverage.